Hey everybody, John Lorden here. Welcome to another episode of Itchy Mysteries. Occasionally I bump into what looks like a documentary. Typically they're around 1 hour long, but then I later find out that it's actually a TV series. But honestly, some of these episodes seem to stand on their own for me. So today we're reviewing one of those. This is from a show called American Experience, which I believe is on PBS. This episode that I'm talking about is from season 28. So apparently this has been a show that has been on for a while. I don't know how I've missed this show. It's just completely missed my radar. But the particular episode that we're talking about is called The Perfect Crime. I saw this on Amazon. If you're a Prime user, you can check it out for free there. It's a really interesting story. There's some really good production values that have gone on to this, so I wanted to share it with you guys and let you know about it. Let's start with the synopsis over at IMDB.com. The trial of wealthy college students Leopold and Loeb, who murder a 14-year-old boy in 1924, sets off a national firestorm about morality and capital punishment. It's a really interesting story. Just the mechanics of telling a story from 1924, it seems like a pretty big challenge to me, especially if you're not going to use dramatic recreations at all. And the way they do this, I think, just nails it. It's perfect. They're using all period footage mixed in with experts interviewed on the topic. You know, they've got some current authors and historian experts that are commenting on it as well. But the first thing that struck me was the voices. If I gave out awards for the movies that I review, this one would run off with best voiceover. Oliver Platt does most of the main voiceover. However, the famous attorney Clarence Darrow also pops up in this case, and they have an actor that is reading some of his lines, and I was just completely captivated. They were so well acted, such a good, interesting voice. And I'm like, I think I recognize that voice. I looked it up after, and it's actually James Cromwell that does the voice for Clarence Darrow. Just an amazing talent to bring into something like this. Typically, when it comes to the stuff that I look at, you don't see talent at this level working on projects like this. So it really just took it to a whole new level. I keep saying level. I'm going to say it 2 more times. Level for me. Outside of that, you have a tragedy, of course. We're talking about a 14-year-old boy that is murdered pretty grotesquely. They try to cover it up by pouring acid on his face so that it's harder to identify him. They basically stuff him like in a drain ditch somewhere. It's a terrible story. But that's not really what the whole piece is about. It kind of shifts focus between the first half to the second half, and it becomes much more of a courtroom drama that is talking about basically mostly focusing on the defense, what Clarence Darrow is doing to try to get these two guys, not to get them off, but to get them to not face capital punishment, to not be put to death and instead get life in prison. Which, of course, I know that's still a hot button topic. And it's interesting to see from a historical perspective, way back in 1924, how the country was reacting to this type of topic. It's really interesting to hear about the lengths that the legal teams were going through. I mean, you've got one side that's pushing for it. These guys should be put to death. You've got another side that doesn't believe that's the right thing to happen. And we still have that conversation, obviously, raging on in this country to today. So, but just a really well done piece. I loved all the old footage that was thrown into it. The interview segments were good. Like I mentioned, voiceover, top notch, absolute top notch for all the voiceover work. Music was good. Another thing I appreciated about the music in this piece is, one of the things that I struggle with is sometimes people will try to get an emotional reaction out of me with the music. This wasn't doing that. It was music that just really fit the time and the situations really, really well. It wasn't like it was trying to eke any more emotional reaction. It was just already kind of accentuating what was going on within the story. Really good use of music. It's not often that I'm able to say that I see such a good use of music like that. But obviously, if you've got a show that's been produced for 28 seasons, and this is episode 4 of that season, you have a production team that has been doing this for a long time and has a good handle on this kind of stuff. There's not a much of an itchy mystery per se. It's interesting because for the first half, I was really wrapped up in the story in terms of these two kind of wealthy college kids that are taking things too far, and things go way too far in terms of them thinking that they're going to try to plan a perfect murder. I know the episode's called The Perfect Crime, but they're really trying to get away with the perfect murder, and they kind of just stumble and fail miserably. It's really interesting. There's a little bit of a case cracked episode in here because they let you know the very small and specific piece that leads police directly to them. I'm not going to blow it for you guys, but sometimes, I've mentioned on the channel, it's really hard for me to research case cracked episodes because that information is not always easy to come by. What is the precise thing that led the authorities to find this person or go in that direction? This documentary does a really good point at sharing that information in a very compelling way. And then once they have Leopold and Loeb, the guys kind of fess up and they give them just a crazy amount of detail about how they were trying to pull this off. And then once you get into the courtroom stuff, you have this question of, are these guys really mature? I mean, they're 19 years old when this is going down, but they've got experts that are saying, look, these guys are operating more at the level of a 4 or a 5-year-old. They don't understand what the real world's about because they've been kind of in this cocoon of wealth and raised in a way that might have influenced their actions significantly. So it raises, towards the end, a bit of an interesting question, and I struggle with this all the time when I'm looking into cases and telling you guys about them here on the channel. Is there truly a bad guy? Is there truly a thing as a bad guy? Or are there just people, and we're all just people, and certain people do bad things, but maybe that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bad person, It's a really interesting question. I still struggle with it. Right now, the way I feel, I think there are people that do enough bad things that we could put the bad guy label on them. But sometimes I'll hear people kind of throw that label around, and I kind of question, well, you're really looking for bad guys? What are we talking about in terms of bad guys? Because my list for bad guys, and despite all the cases I look into, isn't that large, which might surprise some of you out there. But anyway, back to the piece. It just raises a lot of interesting questions as you're going through it. And I think many of you out there will enjoy it. On IMDb, it currently rates a 7.3 out of 10. I think I would push it a little higher. I think for me personally, I give it an 8 out of 10. I really don't know how it could be much better. 53 minutes is the perfect length for the amount of information they're sharing with you. Some people might think that the courtroom stuff is a little slow or maybe just slows down the pace because the beginning of it moves at a pretty rapid pace in terms of storytelling. I would probably agree with that. Maybe that's how it could be a little bit better, and maybe I could have bumped it up. But it just has this feeling of like settling in with a really good crime story, almost like settling in with a really good book. There's just something very welcoming about how they're presenting the information. I don't know if it's only the voiceovers, but the voiceovers are certainly a big part of it. The way the information is given to you. When I was watching this, I kept having the feeling of, if my channel gets to the right point and I get successful enough in doing what I'm doing here on YouTube, this is the type of product that I would like to do. Maybe not for everything. I'm sure it would take quite a bit of work, but it's just a really good level of storytelling mixed with archival footage, mixed with expert interviews. It just felt right when I was watching this. So that's really why I wanted to share it with you guys here on Itchy Mysteries. What do you guys think? Let's talk about it in the comments down below. And if you have any other suggestions for Itchy Mysteries, please let me know as well. I'm always looking for good things to bring to the channel here and share with everyone else. Hope you're having a great week, everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hope to see you back here on the Lord and Arts channel tomorrow. I'll be there. Take care.